That evening after finishing dinner I felt hot sweat soaked my back. I decided to take a shower to feel more comfortable. The bathroom was small. The warm water flowing over my skin felt gentle and pleasant. After finishing my shower I chose a soft beige dress that I usually wore at home, a v-neck dress with a long zipper in the back. I went into the bedroom to put it on. When I pulled up the zipper I found that it was stuck in the middle, and no matter how hard it tried I couldn't pull it up. At first I looked around in confusion, intending to call my husband for help, but when I stepped into the living room the dim light was on. Only my father-in-law was sitting on the chair. Hearing my footsteps he looked up, his eyes a little surprised. "Where's your husband, Dad?" I asked, my voice a little hesitant. "Aiden just went out, probably to buy some things. Is there anything wrong?" His voice was calm. I bit my lip. In this situation there was no other choice. I spoke awkwardly. My skirt zipper is stuck. Can you help me?" Hearing that he put down his teacup on the table, stood up and walked closer. "Let me see." When he stood right behind me I could feel the distance between us being very close. His breath lightly fanned the back of my neck, making me a little nervous. He gently took the zipper, frowning slightly. "It seems to be stuck in the fabric," he said, his hand starting to pull it. I heard a small click and then everything happened too quickly. The zipper slid down hard. The smooth silk skirt fell to my feet in an instant. I stood there frozen. In just a moment I felt like time had stopped. The wind from the window blew in, making my skin cold. "Hello everyone, I am Leah, 28 years old. I have been married to Aiden for 3 years. Our married life seems perfect on the surface: a nice house, a stable job, and a stable financial situation. Aiden is a loving family man, always devoted to me. For me, I am proud of my growing career where I can demonstrate my abilities and find joy in my daily work. We live with my father-in-law, Mr. John Amon, in his late 60s, strong and calm. Hayes, an exemplary man that I always respect. He not only plays the role of father in the family but also a mediator whenever Aiden and I disagree. Our conflicts mostly revolve around having children. Aiden wants a more complete family with children's laughter, but I am no tready. I want to focus on my career for a while, build my personal dreams before stopping to become a mother. Thus this story became the source of long-lasting arguments. However, those arguments never diminished our love for each other. Aiden always patiently persuaded and I tried to explain. After each argument my father-in-law gently stepped in and advised us. He always emphasized that family is about understanding each other. Everything can be solved slowly thanks to him. Aiden and I always knew how to listen and give in to each other. I used to think that our life would go on smoothly like that, but one evening everything changed completely. That day was a busy day like any off errand. The morning I woke up earlier than usual to prepare breakfast for the whole family. Aiden liked a simple breakfast, usually a slice of toast and a cup of black coffee. I also rewarded myself with a glass of warm milk. To start the day my father-in-law, Mr. John, still kept the habit of reading the newspaper while sipping a cup of tea. Every morning the air in the house is always peaceful, warm and filled with pleasant aromas from the kitchen. After breakfast I quickly got ready to go to work. Although my office job was not too stressful, it required a high level of concentration. I put on a white shirt and elegant trousers and light high heels that made me more confident. On the way to the company I stopped by a nearby coffee shop to buy another cup of latte as a way to reward myself before a long day. The office that day was busier than usual. The consecutive meetings left me with almost no time. Tourist, I tried to handle each email, each report, and complete the tasks on time. However, I always kept an optimistic attitude because I knew that this job was not only a responsibility but also my passion. When the clock struck 5 p.m. I packed up my documents and left the company. When I got out on the street the gentle afternoon sunlight spread out, giving me a feeling of comfort. After a stressful day at work I stopped by the supermarket near my house to buy some fresh food. Today I want to cook a more delicious dinner than usual because it's been a long time since the whole family had a chance to sit down and eat together leisurely. When I got home I quickly went to the kitchen. Aiden had just returned, smiled and helped me set the table. Hot chicken soup, a plate of grilled salmon, and a portion of fragrant stir-fried vegetables were served on the table. My father-in-law walked out of the study smiling with satisfaction. When he saw dinner we gathered together, chatting and laughing during the meal. Despite some minor conflicts about having children, family meals are always the most precious moments for me. I didn't expect that after that seemingly peaceful dinner an unexpected event would change everything. After dinner I felt a little stuffy, so I went to the bathroom. The cool water soothed the tension in me heart. After the shower I chose a cream-colored silk dress, my favorite dress, with a zipper in the back. When I stood in front of the mirror to zip it up I discovered that the zipper was stuck halfway. I fumbled around but still couldn't zip it up. I walked out to the living room intending to ask Aiden for help, but the living room was empty. I turned and called out, "Aiden, where are you?" There was no answer. My father-in-law who was sitting in a chair reading looked up. Aiden went out for a bit. "What's up?" I hesitated a bit but finally said, My dress zipper is stuck, I can't pull it up, can you help me? He put the book down and stood up. Let me see. Has stepped closer, his gaze as calm as ever. I turned away slightly, bowing my head to give him easier access to the zipper. His hand firm and strong touched the zipper. It seems to be stuck in this fabric, he said. Trying to pull it up, Butas he applied force. The zipper slid away with a small swish. The soft dress slid down, leaving me standing there frozen. We were both confused. I didn't know how to react, just standing there like a statue. He quickly turned away, his voice full of guilt. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Hurriedly picked up the dress, my hands trembling as I pulled it to cover my body. It's okay, Dad, it's just that my dress is loose, I mumbled, not daring to look up. He took a few steps back, trying to keep his composure. Fix it yourself, let Aiden come back and ask him for help. He turned around and walked out quickly, leaving me standing alone. In the room, the atmosphere was stifling and uncomfortable. I felt my heart pounding, both embarrassed and confused. I couldn't concentrate on anything that evening. Every time I remembered Mr. John's apologetic gaze, I felt even heavier. I didn't know what he was thinking, and this made me even more worried. Aiden came home late, as if he didn't know what had happened. He still smiled and talked happily, not noticing that I was restless. I tried to act normally, but I couldn't help but feel confused. In the days after that incident, I noticed that Mr. Jane seemed to have changed. He no longer interacted with me as naturally as before, always trying to avoid my eyes whenever we accidentally met in the house. This made me feel uneasy, but I didn't know how to start talking to erase this awkwardness. However, there were times when I accidentally caught him staring at me, his eyes searching for something. At those times, I quickly turned away, trying to stay calm, but my heart was in turmoil. I couldn't tell what he was thinking, and this made me even more worried. I told myself that everything would pass, that time would heal these invisible cracks, but I was wrong. That morning I felt tired, my throat was sore and my head was spinning. After taking my temperature, I knew I had a slight fever. Aiden had left home early to go to work, and I decided to take a day off. Taurus, my father-in-law, was still at home, but as usual he spent his time in the study reading books and newspapers or doing his own things. I lay in bed for a long time, feeling so tired that I couldn't do anything but try to sleep. But because the room was too hot, I decided to go out to the living room to find some cool air. I was wearing simple pajamas, my hair loose, my face pale from fever. When I entered the living room, I saw Mr. Joan sitting on the chair, staring intently at his phone screen. I said hello soft, but he didn't reply, just raised his head to look at me. His eyes were different now, no longer the usual calm eyes I was used to. Are you not feeling well? He said, his voice deeper than usual. Yes, I have a little fever, so I'm taking the day off, I replied, trying to keep my attitude normal. He didn't say anything more, just nodded, but his eyes were still fixed on me, as if searching for something in my appearance. That feeling made me feel inexplicably easy. I was about to step outside to avoid this tense atmosphere, but as I turned around I heard him call, Leah, come here, I have something to tell you. I stopped, my heart was clenched with a strange feeling. Mr. JN stood up, his eyes full of determination, looking straight at me. The air in the room became heavy. I could feel my heart pounding, my palms sweating. Leah, you are so beautiful, he said, his voice low and reverberating in the silence. I froze in place, feeling as if my legs had lost all strength. My whole body was cold. Each word he uttered was like a knife cutting into my heart. Dad, what are you talking about? I asked, trembling, my voice choked, but Head did not answer immediately. He stepped closer, each step making me feel as if space around me was shrinking. Heises stared straight at me, not moving away for a second. Leah, he said, his voice soft but full of pressure, can you let me see you again? I stood there, not believing what I had just heard, my eyes widened, looking at him as if searching for a sign that he was joking. But he wasn't. His gaze was so serious that it made me speechless. Dad, I almost shouted, trying to keep my composure. How could you say such things? Didn't you feel sorry for Aiden? He paused, a look of confusion on his face, but his gaze never left me. Leah, I didn't know what happened to me, he said softly, his voice pleading. Since that day I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. I stepped back, trying to keep me distance. Dad, what you said is really wrong. You are destroying the relationship in this family. I am your daughter-in-law. I know, he interrupted, his voice louder but quickly softened. But this feeling, I can't control it, Dad, I screamed, my voice shaking, my eyes stinging. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't understand how you could say such things. I can't believe it. Mr. John stood still, his eyes lowered to the floor, as if trying to fight some force within himself. The air in the room was heavy and suffocating. After a long moment, his shoulders slumped, his voice soft but trembling. Leah, I don't know why things turned out like this. I'm sorry, but I can't lie to myself anymore. I stood there confused and panic rising in waves, but my legs felt like they were pinned down, unable to move. He stepped closer, each step slow but filled with pressure, his eyes fixed on me, filled with conflict and an unnameable sadness. I stepped back, but the small table behind me blocked my way, leaving with no way to retreat. I know this is wrong, he continued, his voice quieter but still clear, but this feeling, it really scares me. I don't want to hurt you, but I can't stop thinking about you ever since that day. I felt my heart pounding so hard it felt like it was going to explode. And Micah's dad, do you know what you're saying? We can't do this. This is wrong. It's going to ruin everything. I screamed, my voice cracking with emotion. He stopped in front of me, Heises, filled with pain. I know, Leah, I know all of that, but I also know I can't go back. You feel it too, right? His question was like a knife that cut deep into my mind. I shook my head, trying to deny it, but my body refused to obey my mind. Heises were pleading, not with pressure but with a feeling of helplessness and nakedness. I don't know what happened in that moment. The whole room seemed to blur. All sound seemed to disappear. When he took a step forward, the distance between us was almost erased. I didn't retreat. All the invisible boundaries between me and him had disappeared in an instant. When it was all over, I sat on the chair, my hands shaking uncontrollably. My heart was still pounding, but now the feeling was no longer of conflict, but of deep fear. I couldn't believe what had just happened. Mr. JN stood before me, his eyes full of shock. Leah, he started, but his voice was choked. No, I interrupted, my voice trembling. Don't say anything more. I stood up, feeling like my legs had no strength left, but I still tried to walk quickly towards the duress. My hand touched the doorknob. He spoke again, his voice full of pain. Leo, I am sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't turn around, just quietly left the room. Tears streamed down my cheeks and I was filled with guilt and confusion. I didn't know how to face myself, Aiden, or John. After what had just happened that night, I lay in bed unoblido. Sleep images, feelings, and words haunted my mind. I wondered, how did things get this far? How can we face reality from here? I had no answer, and perhaps neither did John. In the days that followed, I lived in constant torment. The thought of telling Aiden everything kept lingering in my mind, but every time I thought about it, I felt helpless. I knew that if Aiden found out, the relationship between him and my father would never be the same again. That sacred father-son relationship would be destroyed forever. I tried to keep everything inside, suppressing the pain and guilt, but that only made me feel more suffocated. I realized that the only thing I could do now was to leave this place. Only that way would stop things from going further and protect this family from collapsing. I started making plans, but it tried to keep a smile on my face as I fever. Everything was normal. I didn't want Aiden to notice anything was wrong before I had the courage to say what I wanted. Every day I made breakfast, cleaned the house, and smiled as I fever. Everything was going smoothly, but in my heart I had made up my mind. One evening, after dinner, as the family gathered in the living room, I waited for an opportunity to speak. Aiden, I said softly, trying to keep my voice calm. I have something to tell you. Aiden looked up at me, his eyes filled with concern. What's wrong? Is something wrong? I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. I think we should move out. We can start a new life somewhere else. I feel like it would be good for both of us. Aiden froze, his eyebrows furrowed. Move? Why do you suddenly want to do that? We've been doing just fine here. Is something wrong? I shook my head, trying to smile reassuringly. Nothing, it's just I wanted us to have some space, and I think it's time to leave. Aiden put his hand on my shoulder, his voice serious. Leah, I know something's wrong. You don't need to hide it from. Tell me what's wrong. Before I could answer, JN came down the stairs. He had heard the whole conversation. Leah is right, John said, his voice low but firm. Aiden, I think you two should move out. You and Leah need some space to build your lives. I don't want to keep you two here forever. Aiden looked at him, his eyes filled with surprise. But Dad, I don't want to leave you. I think we can still live together. Well, Mr. John smiled and patted Aiden on the shoulder. You don't need to worry about me. I'm fine. You and Leah should do what's best for your future. Aiden was silent for a long while, his eyes gradually softening. Finally, he nodded. If you say so, Dad, then I agree, but I will come visit you often. I said nothing, just bowed my head, feeling a mixture of sadness and relief. I knew why Mr. John helped me. This was his way of making amends, of keeping this family from falling apart. When night fell, I stood in my room looking out the window with an empty feeling. I knew that leaving was the right thing to do, but the pain and guilt would follow me wherever I went. My story left a profound lesson. Every mistake starts with a small boundary being broken, sometimes just a moment of carelessness, a moment of weakness, can lead to unpredictable consequences. None of us are perfect. Beauty is the recognition of mistakes, facing them and correcting them. That is important. Always cherish the relationships around you, especially family. Family is not only a shelter but also a responsibility to preserve. One wrong action can destroy everything we have built over the years, so stay alert, keep your limits, and don't let your emotions get the best of you. For those who are in a similar situation, me advice is to choose the action that causes the least harm to everyone. Sometimes leaving is not an escape but the best way to protect the people you love. Learn to let go, because this not only frees you but also helps you keep the good values that you want to protect. I left that house carrying with messages and profound lessons. Life is a long journey, and I told myself that I will never let myself go astray again. My story ends here. What happened was the biggest lesson in me life, reminding me of the value of family and responsibility. Thank you everyone for listening, and I hope this story will help you avoid similar mistakes.